Harvard graduate and research scientist Chloe Jennings-White shocked the medical and disability communities when she, an able-bodied individual, identified as trans-abled. She believed her legs were not truly meant to be a part of her body and resorted to using wheelchairs and crutches to enact a sense of disableism. You know, except when driving. This mentality is not new. It's a phenomenon that was first identified and termed in 2004 by Michael First as Body Integrity Identity Disorder, or BID. Concerning the desire to become disabled, the phenomenon of transableism falls under the larger umbrella of BID. According to Peter Bay's 2019 book, Voice of Illness, Negotiating Meaning and Identity, transableism is a new movement within the body identity and modification realm, with the aim of expanding acceptance for self-induced disableism. Given the 2016 book, Theorizing Normalcy and the Mundane suggests BID is more common and more serious than we might think, so it is essential to understand how it impacts our society. So today, let's explore the background behind BID, the psychology of transableism, and social implications to what Forbes on January 14th, 2019 calls a postmodern circus movement of freakery. Chloe began experiencing these feelings at the age of 4, telling the Huffington Post on July 13th, 2018, nature made a mistake by giving her working legs, alongside feelings of jealousy towards other kids with disabilities. So much so, at the age of 9, she tried to paralyze herself in a self-induced bike accident. To further understand the intricacies behind these overwhelming feelings, it is essential to examine the background and current treatment options. First, background. With little research conducted on BID, there is no concrete definition, but the Internal Classification of Diseases on August 1st, 2018 presents the working definition of BID as an intense and persistent desire to become physically disabled in a significant way, with onset by early adolescence, accompanied by persistent discomfort or intense feelings of inappropriateness with their bodies. The National Library of Medicine on March 1st, 2017 explains, the first trace of this condition occurred in 1972 in the form of letters within Penthouse magazine from individuals who voluntarily wanted to become amputees, leading Michael First to conduct the first scientific study of it. The study, involving 52 individuals, reveals most individuals with BID tend to be male, with the desire to amputate a limb, usually a leg, on the left side of the body. Second, in response to the emergence of BID, several treatment options have been offered. According to a 2009 Sydney Health Ethics study, the two main treatment options are psychotherapy and psychotropic medication. Now, while therapy does allow an individual to share their thoughts with others, Michael First's study notes, most individuals reported no reduced desire for amputation. Rachel Biggio's 2018 paper, Trapped in Limbo, argues therapy can actually increase the desire for amputation through the extensive discussion surrounding these fantasies. And this ultimately leads to a final, more unorthodox treatment option: amputation. Chloe tells Daily Mail on July 3rd, 2019, she would often fantasize about being in various situations that could leave her paralyzed, highlighting, whenever I'm driving, I sort of conjure up accident scenarios in my mind where I'll become a paraplegic. And these sorts of thoughts eventually led to her first diagnosis in 2008 by, you guessed it, Michael First. First, not the person. As a result of BID having a working definition, there are multiple working theories on its psychology. St. Thomas University's Professor Clive Baldwin tells the Canadian Times on November 21st, 2016, BID is not a medically recognized disorder. The Metro on October 11th, 2018 cites Dr. Mart Selter, who notes how BID is thought to be connected to the right hemisphere of the brain. He explains how BID may be connected to other body identity disorders, such as anorexia or body dysmorphia. The aforementioned Canadian Times labels BID as a suspected neurological condition, where the brain's mental map does not align with the physical body. Very Well Mind on September 24th, 2017 argues, the psychology behind BID is largely unknown, but it's thought to be connected to the parietal cortex, premotor cortex, and insula in certain brain regions, reframing it as a medical condition to be treated. rather than a mental illness to be managed. Next, there are several parallels between the trans identity and transableism. The Federalist on April 7, 2017 claims, in both instances, an individual is wanting to modify a healthy functioning body part, posing the question, what makes the two different then? Luckily, activist Dr. Pauline Park fights this comparison in her paper, The Transableism Phenomenon, Paraphilia, Fantasy, and Phantasmagoria in the Construct of the Transgendered Body. Park separates the trans identity and transableism by explaining how a trans identity is a natural form of gender variance, whereas transableism is a misappropriation of disability status. She ultimately argues, gender is a construct, and disabilities are not. In 2016, Dr. Phil interviewed a woman named Jewel, who is transabled and blind. Jewel confessed that with the help of her psychiatrist, she blinded herself using drain cleaner and has never felt more complete. With this in mind, it is essential to unpack the implications, high inflation of disability healthcare, and fetishized disableism. First, the healthcare industry could gouge prices for the disabled. In scholars Robin McKenzie and Stephen Cox's 2015 study, Transableism, Disability, and Paternalism in Public Health Ethics, they find that when conditions such as transableism become more medicalized, we must be concerned with the seriousness of overriding a self-regarding action, and that these actions may have long-term demands on healthcare resources, and concerns of a voluntary amputation also fall under a socioeconomic umbrella. Sabine Muller in her 2008 study, BID, Is the Amputation of Healthy Limbs Ethically Justifiable?, finds that these amputations may have lifelong follow-up costs. She cites Richard Alexander, a specialist in personal injury litigation, who states that the annual median cost for the needs of a below-the-knee amputation is approximately $105,000, which the state's welfare has to finance. And finally, disabilities are becoming fetishized. Whether they are aware of it or not, those who identify as transabled are encouraging the romanticization and fetishization of disabilities, leading to the prevalence of apodomenophilia. Literally translated as amputation love, a 1977 study from the Journal of Sex Research defines apodomenophilia as having a sexual attraction towards amputees and amputations. Adam Bowles, a former youth Paralympian, explains in a May 2019 interview with Daily Mail that transableism encourages the idea that daily lives will be enriched or more pleasurable by having a disability. However, instead of focusing on the range of individuals and the uniqueness of each disability, those who identify as transabled are focusing on how they perceive a disability to be and encourage performative disability. Jewel expressed safety concerns within the implications of transableism, telling Barcroft TV in 2016, she knows she feels a need to be disabled, and others do too, and she hopes one day BID will be taken seriously in the field of medical science. She defends her position, stating, if someone were to tell me that it's fundamentally selfish to blind myself, I would tell them that it's selfish to refuse treatment to someone with a disorder. So today, after examining the background behind BID, the psychology of transableism, and social implications, we can begin to understand BID's place in the larger picture of both society and science. As an individual with dwarfism, while it can be frustrating to see disabilities being treated as a novelty and glorified, it is essential to understand the macro influence of phenomena such as transableism. In the end, we must ask ourselves, where do we draw the line for individuals to feel comfortable in their own bodies?